Daniel Andrews is refusing to endorse a one-man law to keep serial killer Paul Denyer in prison until he dies. The Premier says he has faith that the Adult Parole Board will never let the triple murderer out.
Jake Blair was just 12 days old when his mum, Debbie Freem, was murdered. He's now 30 and hopes Frankston serial killer Paul Denyer is never released. But the Premier won't support a push by the opposition for a new law to keep Denyer in jail until he dies.
No.
Instead, leaving it to the Parole Board, which last week rejected Denyer's bid for freedom.
They would not even entertain another application for parole unless there was a material change in circumstance. And that would seem rather unlikely.
I think it's pig-headed. He's just totally gone out by himself and said no to something without actually seeing the detail.
The other families, they really don't want to have to go through this every 2 years. Just the same as myself.
Jake Blair says it makes their trauma worse.
It's a very big butterfly in my stomach and it's just swimming around and it's constant. It hasn't stopped for years.
What would get rid of those butterflies?
Guarantee that he's not going to get out, and people like him are not going to get out.
I'm appalled by it because this means the families of Denyer's victims will suffer more because of Daniel Andrews. He could fix it, he won't.
Despite the Premier dismissing the new law, the opposition is persisting. They introduced the bill into the upper house this afternoon, hoping that public opinion and pleas from Paul Denyer's victims change his mind.
Imagine the pain of having to relive those murders of those young girls every couple of years because some bloke in prison gets more rights than you.
It's ridiculous. Honestly, it is ridiculous. Even think of letting someone who's done that back on the streets. Like, what is wrong with people?
Paul Dowsley,